Oh. Have you heard of Ultraman? I have, but only vaguely. I don't really know much about him, to be honest. As far as I know, he's a man, and there's the word ultra in front of his name. And ultra's a good word, isn't it? That means good things. Ultra. Ultra absorbent sanitary pads for women. Is Ultra a brand of... Or am I thinking of something completely different? Ultraman. He'll absorb your menstrual blood. Get him now at all good convenience stores that are locked because of not being essential. Although, no, probably they would be, wouldn't they? Open, I mean. If, well, yeah, it's like the store near me. It's open because it's an essential... Oh, should we talk about something else? I've been commissioned to do a picture of Ultraman, a painting no less. Issue with that, of course, so I don't really know a sodding thing about him, other than he's a man and he's going. So I Google imaged Ultraman, and this is some basic. These are how I do my concept sketches. This is why I couldn't be a concept artist. Although actually I probably could, because if it was my job, I'd put a bit more thought and effort into it. But since it's just one piece that I'm doing myself, I'm the boss that I need to get approval from. I don't really need to focus too much on having them look proper, so it can be as shitty or non-shitty as I like. But yeah, like I say, I know he's I think he fits somewhere within the Toho Godzilla universe, I think, but maybe I'm wrong. It might be his own universe that he lives in. But he's, giant or can be giant, and then there's giant monsters involved, like Godzilla and that whole thing, which is, that's cool. I can get down with that. But yeah, I like the imagery of him. I just don't know a single sodding thing about it. Is the issue. But like I say, Google Images, as long as I make him look alright, I don't really need to worry about too much else, do I? And that's, it looks like Ultraman, doesn't it? So, he does this pose a lot that I've seen 3 times on Google Images, so that means a lot, obviously. It's a very difficult angle to draw an arm from, especially when your knowledge of anatomy is what they'd call a blagger's knowledge, where you know enough to just about sort of lie your way through a conversation about it. But when it comes to actually knowing things, you get a bit lost and go, I was pretending to know. Sorry. So this isn't what the final outcome would be. Which is sort of, I didn't want to talk about it too much, but I have been feeling a little bit unimpressed with my artwork of late. Like, I'm putting a lot out because of my current situation or whatever. But then, especially in terms of my own work, I think I've said before, I look at it and it's very static and it's sort of meh, as far as I'm concerned. So with that said, I don't want to get too, make sure the anatomy's correct, make sure the references are right, or whatever. As long as it looks good, that's what I'm focusing on. So this is my idea for the actual composition of the piece. A slightly upward angle, maybe some buildings here. I was going to have one, like a building here with his crotch resting on it. As you can see, I put some focus onto the crotch area there, which I may do in the painting because it's a Ewan painting, so it only stands to reason. Now it's got a nice big penis in it. which is how I wish I'd spend most of my days, with a nice big penis in me. Yeah, cock resting on a building, but I might not do that. Just some buildings here. I might put like a monster here with a surprised look on his face, like, oh, what's going on? I think I drew one there. Yes. And yeah, so he's got that pose, hand out, hand pulled back here on this side. So anatomically and, you know, in terms of perspective and stuff, it won't be on point, but it will look fucking cool. But of course, I can draw this and go, look, this would be a good idea for the composition. And you can look at it and go, yeah, that looks quite cool. The angles are fun and it's a nice shape and whatever. But then translating that to a larger image doesn't always work. Alternatively, I could paint it very, very small and then just give it to him and be like, here's your fucking Ultraman painting, sod hat. Oh, is it too small? Oh, where? Which is, I don't think it's been a complaint I've had, but it is something people have noted, which I have brought up before, I know for sure. That, you know, since I work very small, people are often surprised by that fact that if they buy a painting or a drawing or something, that it is a very small piece of art. Which, you know, cool, whatever. As long as they don't complain, because obviously they're not buying a certain sized piece of paper or card or canvas or whatever. They're buying the work, you know. My years of learning and practicing and failing and succeeding and creating boiled down to this one picture I made specifically for you to own. That's what they're buying. You're not buying a piece of paper, which is why it doesn't really matter what you paint on or what you paint with, because you're not buying the materials, are you? You're buying the art as a whole, not the artwork. I mean, you're buying the artwork, yes. Physically, literally, you're buying the artwork. But you're buying the art, the whole, the globe of artwork, yeah. That's what you're buying. Or you're just buying a shitty bit of paper with some crappy little drawing on it. But what I may well do is trace this bigger. I don't know, take a picture of it on my phone, scan it in, whatever. Trace it big, probably about this sort of size. And then paint it like that. Because I'm sure, there you go, some relatable content for you. You can all relate to. You get a really cool little thumbnail sketch in your sketchbook or a bit of paper, whatever, and you go, cool, I'll do that. And then when it comes to transferring that to a bigger size, it just looks awful. It does not come out remotely as it did in the thumbnail. You just cannot capture that same energy or pose or composition, whatever. You can't quite pin it down. And you know, that's tracing is a thing. That's like quite possibly one of the reasons tracing exists is for that reason, because there's no need to just copy something by sight when you can trace it and capture as much of the, you know, the original energy or whatever of the thing. Sorry, I was counting fingers. It's like when you have to think of a letter of the alphabet, but you have to sing the whole song. When it comes to drawing fingers, I can't just draw 4 fingers. I've got to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Right now, he's got enough fingers. Because I'm 6 years old, apparently. Although it was around that time that, you know, all the trauma came about, so it would stand to reason that that's the age I stopped properly developing, you know, properly, and therefore it was all stunted around that age. So, you know, it's perfectly reasonable that I'm shit at maths and such. Here's something I wanted to talk about. Have you heard of a comic called Black and White or Tekkonkinkreet? No idea what the fuck that means, but it was animated a little while ago, some years back. Very, very good animation, a film, a couple hours. Can't recommend it enough. It's fantastic. Find it, watch it. It's really, really good. Based on this comic by this guy. Now, this is a very good one because it's an example of part of one of the things that made me think I could fucking draw a comic. The artwork is good. Obviously, it's very good artwork. But it's very much. Oh, that's cool. That's one of my favourite comic book panels of all time. There's a little boy pulling his penis up, saying "dink." So he's in a bathhouse with an old man and his friend, and he's got his little penis. That's funny. Yeah, the artwork is not sort of, I guess, what you'd consider industry standard. Yeah, it's a bit sort of out there, a bit quirky. I think it's this guy is noted for being somewhat like surrealist in his artwork and such. The buildings, for instance, they're not all. He does obviously doesn't use a ruler, make them all neat and tidy. He's just like, yeah, buildings go here, cool, buildings, lines, and that's one thing I really like about his artwork, is he doesn't use a ruler for that. Like all these lines here, they're obviously just freehand, draw the shit. All these bodies and stuff, you know, like this body, wibbly wobbly lines. It's obviously not anatomically perfect, but the point is, he's drawing a thing that needs to look like a thing. He's portraying an idea on a page in the way he portrays ideas on a page, and he does it, and it looks good. And that's it. He makes it look good still. It's not perfect, but it looks good still. Which is, it's a difficult balance to get, because, you know, it's very easy to make something not anatomically correct but have it look shit, whereas someone like this does it, you know, it's not perfect but it looks good. So you know, see, look, the birds, there's a lot of artists that do both, that would on the one hand draw everything perfectly, like have all the birds drawn perfectly, you know, they'd look like birds, like photo referenced birds or whatever. And then there's a lot of people who do it this way, which is a very good example. They're just little silly outlines of birds. You can tell they're birds, they look like birds. Look at that one, that's funny. But they're not perfect, but it's good. And so it was this sort of thing that I'd look at and go, okay, I can make a fucking comic. Plus, 99% of like popular comic books nowadays, well, okay, Marvel and DC, basically almost everything they put out are boring as fuck, especially in terms of the artwork, because industry standard is boring as fuck. It has to be, you know, the perspective has to be on point, and the anatomy has to be on point, composition and everything else. And what you're left with is a very uniform sort of style of comic book artwork, which, you know, cool, does the job, but yawn, frankly. You know, fuck off. Bunch of comic book cunts. Which is a shame, because I'm sure back in the day, well, I'm not sure, there's evidence of it back in the day. If you look at like old school original like Marvel comics or whatever, the artwork looks completely different to how it does now, which is understandable because evolution is a thing. It grows, it changes, cool. But I feel like now, because of it being a corporation and, you know, there's money involved, that it's gotten to the point where they've stopped growing and evolving and changing and gone, nope, this is fine, this is standard, keep it like this now forever and ever and ever. And that's why it's boring, because now it's sort of falling behind. Comics are still being made, but really good, interesting comics are being made, but not by Marvel or DC. You know, occasionally something will come out that's quite cool. DC obviously has like Vertigo, which does its own thing. I don't know if it's still around. They do their own thing. DC is better for that sort of thing. Marvel less so. And then there's, there are other countries in the world. Who'd bloody thought that make their own comics? And this is a good example of that. But obviously the line work and stuff, you can call it. I don't want to call it sloppy because it's not bad. It's just in comparison to comic book standard, it may appear sloppy or whatever, but it's very, very good. And the composition's very cool. Reflections, not great, not perfect, but you know what's happening, and it's cool. And the contrast of black and white in these comics is very good. And considering it's called black and white, it's only proper. A cat. That's nice. Catty cat. I think it's this. Some tits. Fuck yeah. Some fucking tits. Ooh. Ooh. Lovely. I think it's this comic or another comic where. Oh, this might even be here. They're on a train, and instead of. Oh, there you go. Yeah, literally, this is exactly the panel I was thinking of. There's a hippo lady on the train. It's not in reference to anything. It's not like a drug sequence. There's nothing weird going on. There's not animal people living in the city. But the artist obviously just thought, oh, I'll draw a hippo lady on the train with her shopping. There she is there. Because why the fuck not? It's a comic. Draw shit. It doesn't matter. Just put a fucking hippo lady there. Because it's fun and interesting to draw. So fucking draw it. But yeah, quite an epic comic, which is something actually I'd love to do with, for instance, Gun Viking, especially the latest issue 3, and will be the same with issue 4, is I'm trying to cram a lot into a short space. So given the time, if I had the time, it would be like a 200-300 page huge story with loads and loads of single panel pages, loads of pages in a row with no text whatsoever, just settings and action happening across many pages, but I have to condense that into 20 pages just to fit it in a comic, so it's affordable and it fits the theme of what I'm doing, to fit it into a book, to get the thing out, plus the time I've got to do it. I kind of have to chop it down to what it is, to the essence of the story or whatever. But yeah, I'd like to put out something like this, which is also by the same guy. I don't want to murder his name. Taiyo Matsumoto. Yeah, this is also by him. This was shortly after this one came this one. Which is a gorgeous book in itself. Look at that. Fucking cool artwork on the cover. And, like red edged pages. I don't know how well you can see that because my shitty lamp setup. With design on them and everything. And then it's like, there's these grey scale pages in the front. Grey toned pages. That's nice, even that shade of pink. It's just a really nicely put together book. It's a nice sized book. The artwork's cool. There's a book review from Ewan, and there's this really cool section. This is in the story itself, where the whole thing is happening in the dark. So there's all these like dark black pages here. That's what I want to do with Gun Viking, is have just a really nice fucking book that's big and all the artwork's fucking sick. And there's like black and white bits and colour bits and ink bits. And the book itself is just fucking cool. But maybe one day, eh? Maybe if I get enough people on my Patreon, that gives me the freedom to work on that sort of thing, I could put something like that out. But this is called Go-Go Monster, again by that same guy. And again, it's I think even more so than the book I just showed, is the artwork feels even looser in a lot of parts. yeah, the composition's fantastic. The contrast is great. Just the black coats and everything, and the grey tones for certain things. It's really, really nice, really sparse, really basic. Not perfectly drawn, but it's fucking good. It looks good. And again, you know, 10 years ago, maybe even less, I'd have looked at this and gone, this is fucking shit. Although I think I did actually get this about 10 years ago, so I obviously didn't. Maybe a bit more than that. I'd have looked at it and gone, this is shit. How does this get made? But obviously, later years, I can appreciate the artwork and shit, yeah, and go, oh, actually, well, that's quite good. There's lots of, like, I don't want to say symbolism and stuff, but just lots of cool shit. Like, you know, that. That's what this book does a lot of, actually. This has loads and loads of just sort of setting panels where, you know, it's based in and around this school. So there's whole, like, there might be 1 or 2 pages at a time. That's literally just, each panel is a different bit of, like, oh, like this. So there's kids walking up the stairs to school, and these are kids just talking to each other, just like, you can picture it being a film. You can just hear kids talking while they're showing different screens of the school and stuff. So talking about video game cheats and whatever. So that's something I'd really wanted to do more of in Gun Viking, is to have more of just that stuff, of just settings and things. So, you know, I've got a double page spread of the chasm of those, like, ramshackle buildings built into the crevasse. Or it's called the crevasse, not the chasm, whatever, you know what I mean. Oh, he's drawn on a dog. But yeah, I've got that double page spread, which I'd love to have had as like a, you know, several pages showing different parts of it and how people live within that. But to get out the story I want to get out, I've got to chop it down to its essence. So, you know, maybe I'll do like a Gun Viking extended edition somewhere down the line, and fill in the gaps, as it were. But yeah, I really like this because, again, this is the sort of thing I'd look at and go, I can make a comic. Not to say, oh, if this fucking guy can make a comic, then I think I can make a comic too. But just in that, it doesn't need to be Marvel and DC level of perfection, you know, and expertise or whatever. This guy obviously knows exactly what he's doing. He's highly skilled. But, you know, and it's largely, I was going to say possibly, it's certainly a cultural thing as well, in that, you know, different peoples in different places have different approaches to things. So they, you know, the Japanese, for instance, approach comics in a very different way to us white Westerners, which is fucking whatever. Speaking of Gun Viking, though, it's basically, it's about to go off to the printers, which is fun and exciting. I got the quote back for the prices, so I'm just going to put it all into a PDF, make sure it's all ready for print. Make sure the sizes and everything are good, all the contrast on the pages is good. I have, again, I know I've shown you all before, but this is Gun Viking issue 1 right here. Look how small the artwork is, man. Look at that, look how tiny that silliness. Here's it printed. Where's that page? As it printed, that's the original artwork. Isn't that funny? The difference in that. Yeah. Fuck your mother. But yeah, so I was looking at it and, like, you know, there's certain, as I've mentioned before, there's certain bits like this where, because of the change in contrast and printing, the letters don't stand out that well, and they're all a bit scratchy and could be better, I'd say. But like here, it's not supposed to be as faded. Let's find the original. Yeah, the original to the print. This should be a bit darker, more obvious. So, yeah, I don't. Because looking back through the comic now, like it's not hugely necessary that I tidy it all up, but I may as well because I'm getting issue 1 reprinted, so it will be available for purchase. Along with, I've got about 40 copies of issue 2. I sold just under half of the ones I got printed, so I've got 40 copies of issue 2, so I won't print any more of those. I'll just keep those for sale. I'll get a bunch of issue 1 reprinted, and I'll get issue 3 printed for the first time, which will be very exciting. For the first time since 2015. Wow, man. So that'll be fun. I will also... Well, no, I don't want to... So, yeah. Oh, bit all over the place. So, vagina piss all over my face. And shit all over my penis. That's why shit dick is a slur against homosexuals. Because they get shit all over their penis from all that anal sex. You shit dick. Why, yes, I'd love a shitty penis. It would imply I'm getting some, which currently I'm not. I say currently, it's been a while. That's like the 3rd or 4th draft of this one because I couldn't quite get it to look how I wanted it to look. Isn't his mouth funny? Again, you know, I think that's where I was going wrong as well. I was sort of slaving over trying to make it more anatomically correct until I just went, fuck it. This is his mouth because that's kind of how it looks in my head. His ear, whatever. Fuck it. Doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to look a certain way. To be continued. That changed, didn't it? Wow. See there, it's like a full head mask, like a balaclava. Whereas, even within this story, only like a few pages later, really. If we look at issue 2, we see him without his helmet properly. And it's like that. The mask stops there and his hair is all out. Because I did think, where the fuck is his hair coming from? Is there like a slit in the back that his hair comes out of? Or how does the mask fit on his nose? Because that's his nose poking through. So is it just like a Batman mask sort of thing or not? I don't know. It doesn't make sense. Because it's art. It doesn't have to make sense. You fucking... yeah, it looks cool, frankly. I think this looks cool. I was quite happy with this and this. It just made sense to have it open at the top so his hair could spill out. But obviously, back then, I was just doing whatever, and it did not do that. Look, you're learning about things you never cared about. But obviously, what I was saying was, I may go through. So again, a lot of pages. There's text, but there's not like text. That's this actual thing is stuck on. There's a little lip there. Yeah, that needs tidying up a bit. I could redo that, but I probably won't. But yeah, so I'll trace over these, and it will appear as it does in issue 3, where I put the text in via Photoshop instead of on the page directly, just so it stands out a bit more. So I'll trace all of these bits here. Well, that'll be fine. I'll redo that one. Oh, I'll redo all those. That's fine. I like that. There's a good pages. I was quite happy with that. That's a nice, just a nice painting on its own, isn't it? Really, not perfect, but it's pretty decent for the time. 5 years old, not bad. Not bad. Not bad. This was affected highly in the print edition as well. Again, shit everyone cares about. I'm just thinking out loud here, people. So you can see how it's sort of all the lines are kind of faded because of the contrast. And that's one thing. It was obviously it's set in a snowy wasteland primarily, so I don't have to draw fucking buildings and shit all the time. I can just, it's snow, nice and easy. And I did keep in mind I can just do this where I don't even paint the snow. I just use the white of the paper as snow. I've not done that much lately, but I might still, you know. I did it a couple of times in this, I think. But yeah, so I might try to redo certainly that, because that's really faded there. Yeah, just try to get it deeper and darker in the blacks. And also, these little black bits here are supposed to be spent shells, but I forgot to paint them in. So I might paint those in as well. So I'll redo that page. That page is, oh, that's the double page spread there. I was quite happy with that. Oh no, it's not. That's the, I don't even know my own comic. That's the double page spread. Yes. Again, not bad for some 5-year-old artwork. Not artwork done by a 5-year-old. That would be sick. Redo that one. Redo that one. That one's all right. That one. That one's all right, I think. Redo that because of the little. I don't know why. I think I drew it out twice, and I just couldn't get Gun Viking's position to look right. So in the end, I just went fuck it and drew a square, and then drew Gun Viking's body on that. So now he's like this weird long shape here because of composition issue. I don't fucking know. I don't fucking know, man. And that hand's weirdly spread out. Yeah, I'll redo that one. I'll redo that. I'll tidy the text up a bit. And that was okay, and that was okay. So, not many pages that I need to really work on, I think. Fine, 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 fine. And I only need to adjust 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pages. That would be no time. I could do that in a podcast. Or I could not do it in my own time, I suppose. But, needless to say, Gun Viking issue 3 is on its bloody way. Nice. That's good. So I'll get the redoing of those pages done. Put issues 1 and 3 into PDF. Send them to the printer. I'll have that done by the end of the week. It'll get printed within the next week or two from there on. And then, so in a couple of weeks I could have it ready to sell for everybody. That's good news. I may also put issue 2, if I can get it into a PDF. I can, obviously, if I can fucking make myself actually do the shit. I'll put a PDF of issue 2 up on my Patreon for everybody. And then issue 1 will follow shortly after. Because a couple of people were asking about that. Because I put issue 3 up, which I know people were happy about. So it just stands to reason that I do 1 and 2 also. So I'll do that for you, because I love you all. I know I say a lot of shit, and I call you names, like shit dicks, and sod farts, and wet vagina noises, but I love you all, really. And I hope you all continue to send money my way so I don't have to actually work. And that's what it's all about. Well, it means I can, again, I know I speak about this all the fucking time, but it's just because I've been very much in a slump this past sort of week or so. I got one commission done, that Batman commission I barely got done. I did a part of it and then a part of it and a part of it over like 3 or 4 days, which I never do. I almost always get shit done in one day. 2 days at most, but I dragged that one out. And since then, I've done almost nothing. This is like the most I've done. I drew a couple of nudes, but whatever. Or I drew a duck from Animal Crossing. Oh, that's what I've been doing. I've been playing, because I wasn't able to get hold of a Nintendo Switch. So I've been playing the mobile version, Pocket Camp of Animal Crossing, just as something to do. And that's taken up a lot of time. But if I wasn't playing that, I'd just be sat in front of my computer doing nothing, or I'd be fucking tugging on my penis, or whatever. Point is, I've been in a slump, but that's okay, because it happens. And I get that sort of question or message a lot from people saying, you know, how do you tackle artist block or art block, creative slumps or whatever. And I mean, there isn't really a way to sort of block them. You just have to kind of deal with it, and it will pass, like everything, you know. And like anything, you won't even notice it's passed until several days later. You'll be like, oh shit, yeah, no, I've been drawing for the last 3 days straight. I guess I'm out of it now. But it's while you're in it, so you notice that you're not doing anything. You know, like having a cold. It's the worst thing ever. And you feel like you can't even remember a time when you could breathe properly, or, you know, taste your food or whatever. But then once you're better, you don't even realise you're better until a day or two later, when you're like, oh shit, I haven't had to blow my nose in 3 days. That's fucking cool. I obviously don't have a cold anymore. And art blocks is exactly the same. It's just like a cold. They come and go. Everyone gets them, but it'll pass. You know, sometimes they last longer than others, but it'll pass. So just, and you know, this is one of those things that I can take my own advice. You know, I'm very harsh on myself if I'm not creating, because, you know, normally I'm good for at least a drawing a day, if not more. Drawings, paintings, just stuff. Therefore, when I'm not creating, because I don't feel I'm able, I'm very harsh on myself. You know, I think, oh, what the fuck am I doing? I'm a lazy piece of shit. I'm better than this. Fucking hell you and get it together. That sort of shit. But, you know, I've just got to keep in mind, it will pass. Just chill out. You're good. And then, yeah, one day sooner or later, within the next day or two, I'll have this Ultraman painting busted out, and then I'll be on to the next thing and the next thing. I've got a few commissions to get through. I'll get them all done, and I'll be like, shit, man, this is all good. There was nothing to worry about. Everything's fine. Look at me go. But for now, I'm drawing shitty. Like, this is the most I've drawn in like a week or so. So whatever. Even if I'm literally just doing, this is just fucking making marks on the page just for something to do. So I'm whatever. Because even if this is all I'm doing, if this might turn into something else. Now, I might do a video on that, actually. A whole video specifically about art block. I'll note that one down. Video art block. Wherein I can explain what I've just said in this episode of the ewansucks Drawing Podcast, which had approximately 1.5% drawing and the rest of it fucking whatever else. But it should be an art podcast, really, shouldn't it? Not, or maybe it shouldn't. Maybe it should just be the Ewan Show. Shall I rebrand? Shall I rename it to the Ewan Show? Since it's not even, it was never technically a podcast from the start. So why call it a podcast? And it's not really strictly about art or drawing. That's just most of what it is, because that's most of what I do. But I talk about books, I talk about my life. But then it's like, I don't want it to be, because it was never about me. It's not about me. It's not supposed to be about me. I know I talk about myself and people say, oh, we like hearing about you and what you're doing and how you're feeling at the moment, Ewan. I'm feeling awful. It was never supposed to be about me. It's just supposed to be hang out and draw, talk about art, talk about some shit. But I guess, over a long enough timeline, it's going to turn into... Well, yeah, like, because you have one day... I'll sit down to record the podcast and go, well, sorry, I've not been doing much. I've not been feeling great. This has been going on. This has been going on, whatever. And I think, the people who enjoy the podcast will be like, that's all right. Just keep doing your thing, Ewan. We watch for you. And then I think, but it's not about me. It's about the artwork. I just don't want to assume that I'm important enough that I should have my own show about me, It's not about me. It's about art and drawing. It's about drawing penises and men who absorb period blood. Always Ultra, I swear that's the thing. The brand is Always, and it's a period absorption product. I'm going to Google it. I swear that's the thing. I've got my Ultraman tab open. Let me Google Always Ultra. I'm not sometimes Ultra, I'm always Ultra. Always Ultra. Ooh, night and day pads. Quattro pack, wow. Always Ultra. Sanitary towels. Always Ultra. That's what I had in my head when I thought of Ultraman. I thought of, what do I know the word ultra from? Sanitary towels. And that's the end of the episode.